was in a steam chamber in the lower baths. I waited in the dark passageway under the tile for a good few minutes, making absolutely sure it was empty. Once, I had started to open it when head maiden Marga was inside, and I saw way too much of her colossal, naked ass. As soon as I could see it was clear, I shoved the hexagonal tile aside and pulled myself up, scrambling my feet against the tunnel wall, and then closed the passageway off after myself as quietly as I could. The bathing lobby was empty, thank the old kings. I needed to get cleaned up before the feast. And by get cleaned up, I meant soak in a hot tub for a good hour. By that point in my life, I could honestly have gone on just fine without most of the comforts of the nobles' quarters. I didn't need the fancy stuffed quails they served in the Great Hall. The brown goat stew they cooked up in the servants' quarters tasted just fine. I didn't need to sleep in my canopy bed with its fluffy pillows and soft sheets. As much as the floor of Jax's room made my back ache, I felt safer sleeping down there, with people I liked, than alone in a cold stone room. And I sure as hell didn't need to sit around trying to memorize the Kent family tree for head maiden Marga, not when I could be out hiking through the woods or lounging on the beach or playing drinking truths with Jax's friends. But hot baths? I couldn't live without long, hot baths. I reached for the handle of the door to the Lord's bath, and that was when I heard it. The splashing of water, the squeal of 3 giggling voices, the hushing of a stern older one. Evelyn Kent and her daughters, my half-sisters, House Kent's rightful heirs, playing and enjoying their bath before the feast while their doting servants scrubbed them clean, getting ready to sit at the head of the room by my father's side, while I had to sit all the way in the back. So I wouldn't be getting my bath after all. The real daughters got first dibs, as always. I stormed out of the bath, spun a corner and stalked toward my room. A familiar bitterness soured in me. Maybe Jax was right. Maybe it was time to give up on this childish fantasy of my father deciding to legitimize me. This idea that I'd be a real noblewoman with a castle to call her own and a last name to answer to. Maybe it was time to stop dreaming about being Lady Tillandra Kent and embrace just being Tilla of the Tunnels, who sleeps on the floor and has mud on her pants. Maybe it was time to tell my father goodbye. With every step I took, I became more and more certain. I was going to do it, and do it tonight. Screw this feast, screw braiding my hair, and especially screw that fancy teal dress with the beaded collar and the flowing train. I'd blow it all off. Instead, I'd spend the night hanging out in the servants' quarters with Jax's crew, dancing and laughing and getting the best pick of the feast's leftovers. Maybe I'd even make out with that hot, broad-shouldered blacksmith's apprentice. And when my father came to look for me tomorrow morning, I would tell him I was done with this, and done with him. I'd embrace the commoner side of me, and be as happy and content as Jax. This was it. This was the last straw. Then I threw open my door, and found my father in my room, staring silently out my window, his thin hands folded neatly behind his back. "Ah!" I startled, then pulled the door shut behind me. "Father, I wasn't expecting—" He turned to me, his head cocked slightly to the side. He was already dressed for the feast, wearing a black tunic that clung to his tall, narrow frame. His brown hair hung straight at his shoulders, and you could only make out the faintest silver strands starting to appear in his neat beard. A narrow gold chain lay across his collarbone, with clasps on each shoulder, and at the center of it dangled a golden medallion with an eagle emblazoned on it, the crest of the High Lord of the Western Province.
"Hello, Tillandra," he said.
"Hi," I blurted out, my eyes darting wildly around the room. If I'd known he was going to come by, I would have at least gotten it ready. It wasn't just that my bed was unmade or that my clothes were all over the floor. It was how obvious it was that I didn't spend any time here. My desk was a mess of dusty papers, stacks of uncompleted assignments for head maiden Marga. The wall